Welcome to Storytimer at Large. Deborah, Kozlarek, and Carolyn Molen. Carolyn Molen and Deborah Kozlarek were friends and neighbors. They lived in a Chicago neighborhood, sometimes called Back of the Yards. They had a lot in common. Both came from typical working class families, and they just had similar interests. They enjoyed spending time with each other. Deborah was 17, she's on the left there, and she worked as a waitress. Her boss said he thought she was older because she was all business and the best waitress they had. When she wasn't at work, she and Carolyn, they're on the right. Sorry for the picture, and also apologies if I'm mispronouncing anybody's name. When Deborah wasn't at work, she and Carolyn would hang out. Carolyn was 13 and an 8th grade student at St. Augustine's. Sister Mary Jerome said she was an average student and a bit of a loner. Carolyn was the daughter of Wilbur and Sally Molen. They had 4 children altogether, so it was a very busy household. Deborah was the daughter of Edward and Lottie Kozlarek. Theirs was also a busy household, with Deborah being one of 4 children. On September 22nd, the 2 girls were hanging out together after Deborah finished a day shift at 5 p.m. And they ended up off the bridle path at Washington Park near South Cottage Grove, near the South Cottage Grove side of the park in Chicago. So Washington Park is one of the many beautiful city parks of Chicago. It's very large. It has things like playgrounds and ball fields and woodsy forested areas and lots of trails. And they used to have horseback riding and what's called a bridle path, where you could walk your horse and then ride your horse around the park. It's still a very beautiful park, and lots of people go there. Lots of nice mature trees, bushes and flowers, and big wide open spaces as well. So on September 22nd, they were out together, and they had gone to Washington Park, which is not too terribly far from their neighborhood, but it's a bit of a ways. They were on the bridle path there. It was a nice night, a nice evening for a walk. And it's September, so we're still having a nice long day. You know, it's probably not dark yet. And even if it was, there was a full moon that night. So if they were out after dark, it wouldn't have been too dark. But this probably happened when it was still light out, because as I said, Deborah had gotten off work at 5 p.m. and they had gone over to the park. And, September 22nd, it's probably still staying light until about 8 p.m. or 9 even. It's not known how they got to the park, but the 2 of them might have gotten a ride there from someone they knew or even from a stranger. Friends of the girls said they sometimes hitched rides. They sometimes hitchhiked, which a lot of people did in 1972. The 2 were found there at the park on September 23rd, 1972, the next day. Both had been shot in the back of the head with a .32 caliber gun. Why? Early newspaper reports seemed to insinuate that the 2 girls were troublemakers or up to no good. But that's not necessarily true. The news reports played up the hitchhiking and reported that the girls bought cigarettes. Ooh. They made much of the fact that Deborah Kozlarek had dropped out of high school. But all of these things were very common in the 1970s. And for the most part, pretty much still are, except for the hitchhiking. According to a newspaper article dated September 28, 1972, a toxicology report showed no drugs or alcohol present in either girl. These girls weren't into anything bad. The newspaper reports were prime examples of victim blaming. No one wants to believe that random violence is random. No one wants to believe that anyone they know could be a victim at any time, really. We want to believe that we will be smarter, tougher, better able to avoid violent crime. No victim is ever to blame for their own death. Only the killer is to blame. Their parents had to identify them at the morgue. What an awful thing. The trauma of that just leaves me speechless. Who would do this and why? There's no mention in the paper of sexual assault or whether the bodies were fully clothed or unclothed. There's no mention of the location or position of the bodies. Were the girls together? Was one trying to flee? Were they forced at gunpoint to a different location? There's so much here that is unknown. Perhaps more information can be found in the police files. Are these murders related to any of the other murders of young women in the Chicago-Gary area in 1972-73? I don't know. We don't know. I do know that one serial killer lived a very short train ride away in Hammond, Indiana in 1972. Danny Rouse was an O.P. Morton High School student in 1972. He graduated in 1974. In 1974, after graduation, he moved south into Indiana and was living near Winamac, Indiana. That September, he shot Nellie Mikesell's, sniper style, for no reason. She was an older lady sitting in her home by a window when Rouse shot her through the window. The following year, he shot Leila Hildebrandt, also sniper style, from the bushes on the side of the road while she drove past on a dark night. In Nellie Mikesell's case, he shot her with a .22 caliber weapon. In the case of Leila Hildebrandt, he shot her with a shotgun. She's driving past on a dark night, and he's standing in the bushes, and he aimed and shot her while she was driving. She then was gravely injured, ran off the road, and at first they thought Leila Hildebrandt was just injured from the car accident, but then they started looking a little closer, and they saw that this was shotgun pellets wounds. So those two murders, the 1974 murder of Nellie Mikesell's and the 1975 murder of Leila Hildebrandt, would go unsolved for a long time. Danny Rouse is someone who is definitely into killing just for the sake of killing. He got away with those two murders until 2006. He was caught and incarcerated for a couple of decades in between there in Kansas. In 1979, he killed a 5-year-old boy, Jason Learst, and nearly killed the boy's mother. He cut Jason's throat and stabbed Jason's mother in Wichita in 1979. He was sentenced to life in prison, but Kansas decided that he was up good for parole, and in 2006 they paroled him back to Indiana. He then strangled and stabbed his coworker Stephanie Wagner, October 31st of 2006. To avoid the death penalty, he confessed to the Nellie Mikesell's and Leila Hildebrandt cold cases. He killed in 1974, 1975, 1979, and in 2006. Did he kill any other people before 1974? What about in the years between 1974 and 1979? Who else did he kill? The murders of Deborah and Carolyn are still unsolved. Rest in peace, Deborah Kozlarek and Carolyn Vandermolen. If you have information that could help solve this case, please call the Chicago Police Department at 312-746-6000. That's 312-746-6000. In researching this case, just as a PS here, as a postscript, I just wanted to say that I was researching murders in and around Hammond, Indiana, and found one where a girl who went to high school in Hammond named Debbie was standing on the sidewalk with some friends when she was shot by someone driving by. And this is the early 70s. I'm thinking it's 1972. I'll have to look and see. But so Debbie's standing there with her friends, and she gets shot. She's hit in the upper part of her body, but she isn't killed. She recovered from her injury, and she's doing fine. She was doing fine. And so I was like wondering, where did Debbie go to school? So I looked her up, looked up old photos of her and ancestry, and found where she went to school. And I was looking at her yearbook photo, and I thought, what are the odds? What are the odds that I can flip a few pages electronically on this online yearbook and find Danny Rouse? And so looking at Debbie, the victim who was shot but did live, I flipped just a couple of pages, and I'll be good. Yeah, I'll be damned if Danny Rouse wasn't right there in her yearbook at O.P. Morton High School in Hammond, Indiana. So I don't know that Danny Rouse shot his schoolmate as she stood on the sidewalk. I don't know that he shot Deborah Kozlarek and Carolyn Molen. But we do know that he has at least 2 convictions for sniper-style killings that are just done for the sake of killing. And both those victims are women and young girls. Well, both those victims he's convicted of are women. There's probably no way to prove that Danny Rouse killed Deborah Kozlarek and Carolyn Molen. But it's interesting to think about, and it's I don't know. With these old cold cases, I still always have hope that one day they might be solved, that someone will come forward with information that they have. Again, that phone number for tips is 312-746-6000. Rest in peace, Deborah and Carolyn.